Percy on his Pegasus looking out over Manhattan. The first time I presented this cover in front of a live audience, I was at a middle school in Austin, Texas. And I had it blown up on this big poster board. And I said, "Ah, behold, the Titan's curse." And this kid in the front said, "Look, he's riding a moose." Percy Jackson riding his moose. Anyway, the fourth one, the Battle of the Labyrinth, came out shortly thereafter. That series concluded with The Last Olympian. I wanted to call it Revenge of the War Moose, but they wouldn't let me. At any rate, that was the 5-book series, and I really enjoyed it. But as I was going around to different schools all over the country, doing signings, talking to groups like this, everybody was saying, "Well, the book is great, but 2 questions. Will you write more of them? And the second question, are you ever going to do any other kinds of mythology?" And I thought they were both really good questions. In terms of other mythology, the thing that really struck me in my classroom was ancient Egypt. Kids love that stuff. I mean, the pyramids and the hieroglyphs and the mummies, some pretty cool stuff. But nobody's really ever done much with the Egyptian gods. We don't know as much about them as we do about the Greeks. Partly that's because we only translated hieroglyphs a few hundred years ago. So we didn't have these stories with us for thousands and thousands of years. But I thought it would be really cool if we could talk about those gods. And could I bring them into the modern world like I did with the Greek gods? So you could have Anubis, you could have Isis, Ra, Bast, Horus, Thoth, all of these gods in the modern world. What would that be like? So I started the Kane Chronicles. And they were about this guy, Carter, and his sister, Sadie, who have to take on one of the most evil gods of all time, Set, the Egyptian god of chaos and evil. I had such fun writing this series. It was so different than Percy Jackson, but a real challenge. And so the Red Pyramid came out. That was the first. The Throne of Fire in a second, and of course tonight we're here because this is the very first night available anywhere is the Serpent Shadow. Such fun with its Egyptian trilogy. It was amazing. But the other question kids asked, like I said, was, well, what about Camp Half-Blood? Would you do more books about that? And the thing is, I didn't want to just keep the Percy Jackson series going forever, because I don't know about you, but I've read some series that went on too long. And you could tell they were sort of getting old and tired, and I just didn't want it to be that way for Percy. I didn't want it to be like Percy Jackson 6, Percy Jackson 12, Percy Jackson 32, here comes the Minotaur, again. So I wanted to go back to Percy Jackson's world, but I wanted to do a little bit of a different spin on it. So I got the idea, what about the Romans? What are they up to? What about that whole side of the mythology that I didn't really get to talk to? What if out here in the Bay Area, there was another camp, Camp Jupiter, where the Roman demigods trained? And I ran with that idea, and I decided to do the series, The Heroes of Olympus. The Lost Hero, where we have Jason Grace, who's actually a Roman demigod, but he wakes up with no memory. They take him to Camp Half-Blood, and it's really familiar to him. He says, this seems right, but this seems like the wrong camp. And they don't really know what he's talking about. But later, we find out that there are actually 2 camps, and Hera has done a little exchange program. She's traded out, sent Jason Grace to this camp, and then in the second book, we find out our old friend Percy Jackson has been sent to the Roman camp in the 7th. So
so happy.
And I'm happy to tell you that I just finished most of the work on the third book, the Mark. Don't have a cover to show you just yet, but that will be coming very shortly. So in the next few weeks, if you want to check my website, which is just rickriordan.com, we should have a cover to show you. I've seen the drafts of it. It's amazing. I hope you guys will like it. Why is it called the Mark of Athena? Well, I will give you a hint. It has something to do with this coin. This is a tetradrachma. It's a silver drachma that was used in ancient Athens. And you can see, does that symbol look familiar to you?
Yes.
It's the owl, the sacred animal of Athena. And there's the olive branch, and she created the olive tree, so that makes sense. And down the side, it's Alpha Theta Epsilon, which stands for, in Greek, of the people of Athens. That's like their equivalent of SPQR with the Romans. So these are very famous coins. And this is your first hint on what the Mark of Athena might look like and what it might mean. And I thought, if you guys don't mind, that I might use you as my guinea pigs. No one has heard any part of the Mark of Athena yet, and I'd like to read you guys the first chapter. Well, you guys are the first to hear it, so here goes nothing, right? Okay. Chapter 1. Until she met the exploding statue, Annabeth thought she was prepared for anything. She paced the deck of the Argo II, checking and double-checking the ballistae to make sure they were locked down. She confirmed the white flag was flying from the mast. She reviewed the plan with the rest of the crew, and the backup plan, and the backup plan for the backup plan. Most importantly, she pulled aside their war-crazed chaperone, Gleason Hedge, and encouraged him to take the morning off in his cabin watching reruns of mixed martial arts championships. The last thing they needed, flying a Greek trireme into a potentially hostile Roman camp, was a middle-aged satyr in gym clothes, waving a club and yelling, Everything seemed to be in order. Even that mysterious chill that she'd been feeling since the ship launched had dissipated, at least for now. The warship descended from the clouds, but Annabeth couldn't stop second-guessing herself. What if this was a bad idea? What if the Romans panicked and attacked on sight? The Argo II definitely did not look friendly. 200 feet long, with a bronze hull, flaming metal dragon for a masthead, mounted repeating crossbows that could fire explosive bolts powerful enough to blast through concrete. Well, it wasn't the most appropriate ride for a meet and greet with the neighbors. Annabeth had tried to give the Romans a heads up. She asked Leo to send one of his special inventions, a holographic scroll, to alert their friends inside the camp. Hopefully the message had gotten through. Leo had wanted to paint a giant message on the bottom of the hull. With a smiley face. But Annabeth had beaten the idea. She wasn't sure the Romans had a sense of humor. Too late to turn back now. The clouds broke around the hull, revealing the golden and green carpet of the Oakland Hills below them. Annabeth gripped one of the bronze shields that lined the starboard railing. Her 3 crewmates took their place. On the stern quarterdeck, Leo rushed around like a madman, checking his gauges and levels. Most helmsmen would have been satisfied with a pilot's wheel or a rudder. Leo had installed a keyboard, monitor, aviation controls from a Learjet, a dubstep soundboard, and the motion control sensors from a Nintendo Wii. He could fire the ship by pulling on the throttle, or fire the weapons by sampling an album, or raise the sails by shaking his Wii controllers really fast. Even by demigod standards, Leo was seriously ADHD. Piper paced back and forth behind the main mast, practicing her lines. "Lower your weapons," she murmured. "We just want to talk." Her charm speak was so powerful, the words flowed over Annabeth, filling her with the desire to drop her dagger and have a nice long chat. For a child of Aphrodite, Piper tried really hard to play down her beauty. Today she was dressed in tattered jeans, worn-out sneakers, and a white tank top with pink Hello Kitty designs. Maybe a joke, though Annabeth really could never tell with Piper. Her choppy brown hair was braided down the right side with an eagle's feather. And then there was Piper's boyfriend, Jason. He stood at the bow on a raised crossbow platform where the Romans could easily spot him. His knuckles were white on the hilt of his sword. Otherwise, he looked pretty calm for a guy who was making himself a target. Over his jeans and his orange Camp Half-Blood t-shirt, he had donned a toga and a purple cloak, symbols of his old rank as praetor. With his wind-ruffled blonde hair and his icy blue eyes, he looked ruggedly handsome and in control, just like a son of Jupiter should. He'd grown up at Camp Jupiter, so hopefully his familiar face would make the Romans hesitate to blow them out of the sky. Annabeth tried to hide it, but she didn't completely trust this guy. He acted too perfect, always following the rules, always doing the honorable thing. He even looked too perfect. In the back of her mind, she kept thinking, what if this is a trick and he betrays us? What if we sail into Camp Jupiter and he says, hey, Romans, check out these prisoners and this cool ship I brought you? Annabeth didn't think he would do that. Still, she couldn't look at him without getting a bitter taste in his mouth. He'd been part of Hera's forced exchange programs between the two camps. Without warning, Hera had plucked up Percy Jackson, Annabeth's boyfriend, wiped his memory, and sent him to this Roman camp. In exchange, the Greeks got Jason. None of that was Jason's fault, but every time Annabeth looked at him, she remembered how much she missed Percy. Percy, who might be below them right now. Oh God, panic welled up inside her. I'm a child of Athena, she said to herself. I have to stick to my plan and not get distracted. Then she felt it again, that familiar shiver, as if an evil snowman had crept up right behind her and was breathing down her neck. She turned, but no one was there. It must be her nerves. Annabeth wished she could pray to her mother for help, but now that was impossible. Not since last month when she had a horrible encounter with her mom and gotten the worst present of her life. The cold pressed closer. She thought she heard a voice in the wind, laughing. Every muscle in her body tensed. Something was about to go terribly wrong. She almost ordered Leah to reverse course. And then, in the valley below, horns sounded. The Romans spotted. And that's a look at the Mark. My favorite thing is always, of course, hearing the questions you guys might have, things that I forgot to talk about, or things that are on your mind. So I would love to hear what you guys would like to talk about for the rest of our time together, and maybe you have some things that you'd like me to say that I haven't said yet. We do have a microphone that'll be coming around. Awesome. So why don't we start on this side? Anybody got a question over here that you'd like to ask? And I'll let you go ahead and pick somebody.
He pretty much answered them all.
When is Serpent Shadow coming out on audiobook?
When is it out on audiobook? You know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I know they try to have them come out around the same time. Sometimes it takes them a little longer because they're still producing it. Maybe, I haven't actually checked. If it's not out yet, it should be really, really soon, I hope. Maybe if I find out any information about that, I'll put it on my blog. But yeah, hopefully it's coming out pretty quick. All right, do you want to go to the middle? Let's see. Let's get somebody in here.
Are you going to write any more series?
Am I going to write more series? I'm so glad you asked. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I will keep writing as long as you guys keep reading, because I love writing. Now, the next series that I'm going to write, I mentioned to you earlier in the presentation that where I really started as a reader was with the Norse myth. That's the next thing I'm going to tackle.
Wow!
Thor and Loki and Odin, the Fenris Wolf, and Jormungand, the world serpent. There's so much to talk about. So the next series will be about the Norse mythology. Now, it's going to be a couple of years because I got a lot of stuff lined up. I have to finish Heroes of Olympus first. That's the next thing that I've got on my plate. Mark of Athena will come out in October, and then it'll be, as usual, a book a year. I know that seems like forever, but it really does take that long to get it written and get it ready. But I'll get them done as fast as I can. And once Heroes of Olympus is done, then I'll turn to Norse mythology. What might I do after that? I don't know. There's so many ideas. I have more ideas than I'll ever be able to write in a lifetime. I mean, I got so many ideas. But I'll just get as much done as I can. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll take one from the back here.
Excellent.
A lot of hands. Who's got a question?
We won't forget you up there in the balcony either. We're going to see.
About how long did it take you to write all the series?
Yeah, it takes about a year for each book. Now, I've tried to speed that up. When I'm doing the King Chronicles and the Heroes of Olympus, I know that you guys don't like to wait for either series. And they don't like to release them any faster than one a year. And that's really good for me because I don't think I can write them any faster. So I've been trying to go every 6 months. So an Egyptian book comes out, and then the Heroes of Olympus comes out, and back and forth like that. So about the fastest I can ever do a book is 6 months. That's like absolute breakneck speed, not stopping for anything. But you know, it's always, to me, it's more important that I get it right, because I don't want to give you guys a book that's not any good. I always try to make them really exciting and hope that you guys enjoy it. So somewhere in that time frame. I started with The Lightning Thief in 2005. So all of the books that are in the children's series have been done in the last 7 years. Give you an example.
Yeah, I'll take one from this side over here. Do you have questions? What are you gonna like? Are you gonna write a book about all the demigods?
About all the demigods?
Yeah, the stories of the gods, all the gods.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to do that. I don't know. After Heroes of Olympus, I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with Percy Jackson's world. I mean, I like to sort of leave it open too, so that you guys can imagine your own stories. Like, I like it when kids say, you know, I think I'm a child of this god, and, you know, I sort of make up my own stories, but that's awesome. So I don't know. I would love to do more demigod stories. We'll have to wait and see how you guys feel about it, how I feel about it, and we'll go from there. Let's get one. I think if you shout really loud, maybe I can hear you. Those are the young lady in the front row. Go ahead.
What's your favorite part about writing children's books?
What's my favorite part about writing children's books? Absolutely, being done. That's my favorite. I mean, that's true of any kind of book. Writing a book is really hard. It's a lot of work. But when I'm done, it feels so good to send it off to my editor, and of course then I'm hoping that they like it. I just did that with Mark of Athena. Fortunately, they all liked it. That's good. Of course, we still have a lot of revision to do before it's ready. But that's my favorite part. My second favorite part, also my favorite part, is when I get to release a book like today and come out and meet you guys. Because it's so cool to meet you and hear what you have to say, and hopefully you like the book. So far, I've been really, really fortunate because you guys have really enjoyed it. So that's my favorite part too. All right, let's get one more from the on that side, in the back of the frontier, standing up. Yeah, go for it. The favorite book that I've ever written. You know, it's really hard. It's like saying, who's your favorite child? You know, I mean, I like them all for different reasons. Usually it's the most recent one, because it's the one that's freshest in my mind and that I feel the most attached to. So if you ask me today, probably The Serpent Shadow. Because I loved wrapping up the King Chronicles series. If you ask me in 6 months, I'll probably say The Mark of Athena. So it changes all the time.
Yeah, let's get another one in the back here. Is it going to be like a son of a Norse god when you write the Norse series?
Is it going to be like the sons and daughters of the Norse gods? Not really. The Greeks and the Romans are the only ones that have that idea. That at least in the mythologies that I know of, that you could be a son or daughter of a god. That's not something that they really had in Norse mythology or in Egyptian, so I had to figure out a different way of getting the characters involved with the Norse gods. I've come up with an idea that I think is pretty cool. Can't tell you what it is yet, but I hope you guys like it. Yeah, it's going to be a little different. The Norse are different. All right. All right.
She goes back down here.
There we go.
She's been waiting over here. All right, here's your exam first. So, I'm wondering how you come up with such funny names for the chapters. Like the first chapter of the first Percy Jackson book is I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher.
Yes. Not that I've ever wanted to do that myself, but, well, actually what I do is I write the chapters, and then I name them. That's the last thing that I do. So I go through the chapter looking for the weirdest detail. And that's what I make the chapter. And if I can't find something, I make the chapter weirder. And I think that's really important that you have a good chapter opening. You know, that should be something that leads into it. Like today, I was doing an event with the Serpent Shadow, and I read from chapter 12. The Serpent Shadow bowls with freaking laser beams. I love that. Come on. All right, we got another one?
From here. What do you want the cover on Mark of Athena to be?
What do I want it to be? Well, we talked a lot about that. The guy who does the covers is named John Rocco, and he lives in Brooklyn. He's phenomenal. He's done all the American covers. And we talked about it. I described the story. He said, well, this would be a cool image, and this would be a cool image. And he came up with something that is sort of a scene from the book, but it's really, really cool. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what it is. It's going to be announced in a couple of weeks, but right now it's a big secret. I can tell you that the cover that he came up with is way cooler than anything that I would have come up with. I mean, thank goodness I'm not drawing the covers, because I could just do stick figures. That wouldn't be very exciting.
Will you be making Lego Percy Jackson?
That's a great suggestion. I love Legos. I really do. I grew up with Legos. I think Legos are awesome. Both of my sons love Legos. They're fantastic. The thing is that I don't really do the merchandising. That's sort of a different department. So I don't have control over that. So I don't know if they'll ever do toys with Legos. That'd be awesome if they did. But I'm not sure. I don't know of any plans right now. I'd be the first to make my Lego Percy Jackson Minotaur, though. Where are we going here? Oh, yes, go ahead.
I have two questions.
Okay.
One, are you going to do anything about the Hindu gods?
And what's your second question?
No problem. I forgot.
No, that's all right. I know that is. The Hindu gods. Yeah, you know, I taught units on Indian, and I've done units on Hindu mythology, which is fascinating. The Ramayana is an amazing story. Ganesh is a good Hanuman. I mean, there's so many cool Hindu gods. I don't know. I mean, maybe someday that's something I could do. It just kind of depends on, you know, how long I live and stuff like that. I think if I did get to that, though, since it's taken 1 year, you probably will be in college by the time I write that book. But, you know, it's a great idea, and I love to do mythology. Okay,
we're up on this side over here.
All right.
Will the different worlds of, the mythology ever collide? Egypt combined with, Greece?
Right. Well, if you've been reading the King Chronicles, you've probably seen some shout-outs to the Percy Jackson series. The worlds do live side by side. That's true. Now, at the beginning, at least, I didn't really want to mix them because I thought that would be way too confusing. I mean, it's sort of hard enough to keep one set of gods straight, trying to keep two gods set straight. I don't know. But they do exist side by side. I don't know if I'd ever do a crossover novel or not. But I've left the door open to that. And there's when you read The Serpent Shadow, there's some clues in there. So you'll see at the end, I'm not going to give anything away, but you'll see everything's pretty much wrapped up. But there are ways that I could continue the story if I wanted to somewhere down the line. Awesome questions, you guys.
We're going to go all the way up to the back.
Camera's on this side.
Oh, that's why I couldn't see you. You're in the balcony.
And I actually don't need the money. So I'd like to know if you're going to be doing any movies of any of the other books.
Of the which books?
Of any of the other books.
Of any of the other books. Okay. I am not involved in the movie process. So I just do the books. With the Percy Jackson, for instance, you know, I didn't see it. I didn't have anything to do with it. They asked me to read one version of the script. I made what suggestions I could, but that's really not my deal. I do know that they are putting out the Sea of Monsters movie in the spring of 2013. Literally, that's all I know. And I only know that because it was on the internet. So, I mean, if you're looking for the inside scoop, I ain't got it. So I don't know. In terms of the Kane Chronicles, I've sort of been going slow with that one. I want to make sure that if I do the Kane Chronicles, I get exactly the right people making the movie and do it the right way. So, not yet. I'm holding out on that one. Maybe someday if the right offer comes along, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see. So that's all I know on the movie side for right now.
We're going to do one more question because I'm getting a little signal we had to wrap it up.
Okay, we got time for one more. All right.
Somebody hailing airplanes over here. What's your So, what would God would you really like to express in the Norse mythology books?
You mean like which gods would I like to talk about the most?
Yes.
Oh, I mean all of them, I hope. I mean, eventually in the series, I hope to cover all of the Norse gods. I mean, obviously, I got to figure out a way to do Thor that's not like the comic book and the movie Thor, right? Which is not too hard because the comic book Thor, who I love, is nothing like the way he's described in Norse mythology. But it'll be interesting to reinvent him. But Loki, I mean, he's amazing as a villain. Loki is incredible. And Odin, always one of my favorite characters. They got some awesome monsters, the giants. Wow. I mean, there's just so much. So hopefully I'll get to do a little bit of all of that. Well, I'm sorry that we don't have more time because I think there are more questions. If you didn't get to ask your question, check the website on rickriordan.com because most of the questions people ask, they're answered there. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy Serpent's Shadow. I hope you guys will enjoy the Mark of Athena when it comes out in October. And I really thank you for spending some time with me this evening. Thank you so much.